Hello and welcome. Episode 13 of the Miskatonic AV Club, a Mythos Busters production. I'm Sean, and this is take two. So if it sounds a little manufactured, that's why. And joining me tonight, of course, is Scott.
Good evening. Take two is the best take.
It is. So for those of you who weren't unfortunate enough to be here live, we're having some trouble with some random Mass Effect sounds that are just coming through the line, which, on a normal day I'd be totally happy with, but we try to maintain some semblance of professionalism around here, so it's just kind of been a thing. So we stopped halfway through when I think it was Harbinger was bombing in.
Something like that.
And yeah, we're just gonna roll with it this time and see if we have any, and if we have any, we're just gonna edit them out. So it probably wasn't even worth it for me to mention it to all of you who weren't here on the live, but just so you're aware, if it sounds like we're saying things we've already said, it's probably true. So tonight, we are rolling on this train down the tracks, ain't never coming back. We're doing the Essex County Express player card review, so let's hop right to it. Scott.
Yes.
Would you be so kind as an art student?
This is the art student. It is a 2-cost secret asset with a intellect pip. She has the ally and Miskatonic traits, and she has the reaction after art student enters play. Discover one clue at your location. She has 1 health, 2 sanity, and she takes up an ally slot. She's okay. I'm not a huge fan of her. I think she goes well in Roland. But I think as far as Seekers go, they have better ways of discovering a clue.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing with her. So I do like her in Roland, and that's really the only place I've put her at this point. If the Miskatonic trait ever does anything for allies at some point, maybe that'll be a thing. But the fact that she sits in Seeker, so with the card, the investigators we have currently who can access Seeker cards, I think Roland's the best fit because she kind of solves a problem that the other 2 Seekers don't have. So Daisy and Rex, you don't really need help. You don't need an ancillary card that makes you spend resources and takes up the Milan slot to get clues.
Yeah. Now, I mean, Roland, you're also going to have your beat cops and your guard dogs and all this stuff, so I feel like she's kind of a difficult wedge to jam into the deck. But with that extra couple sanity, that can be really helpful for Roland too, beyond the discovering a clue part of it.
Yeah.
So
I think the only other place I could potentially see her is, I hesitate to even say it because it takes up a valuable splash slot, but maybe Zoe? I feel like Zoe, especially in solo, maybe not in multiplayer, but in solo, Zoe really hurts for clue acquisition cards. I mean, you pretty much have to use your splash to get them because she's got access to what? Flashlight and evidence?
Evidence, yeah.
And beyond that, you've got to use your splash to get clues. But that being said, I think there are better options for her.
I agree.
So I don't know. This
yeah.
I do like the thread of disposable allies that have enters play effects, though. That could have some fun. You could do some fun things with that in future.
Yeah, if we're able to loop them back in from the discard pile and stuff, should be fun.
I'm glad you were able to deduce my meaning there, Scott. Do you want to? No, wait, no, this is my card, isn't it? Damn it.
Yep.
All right. Well, our next card is Level 2 Deduction. It is, of course, a Seeker skill. It has 2 intellect pips. It is practiced and expert traded.
Ooh.
If this skill test is successful while investigating a location, discover 1 additional clue at that location. 2 additional clues instead if it succeeds by 2 or more. So, and here's a prime example of why art student is just kind of not needed at the moment. It's just why would Seeker ever need help?
Yeah, I mean, I have this dream of playing Rex and being in a four-player game and having two of these deductions in my hand, like level two.
Oh, they're not even one per test, are they?
No, no, they are not. And just cloovering up six clues in one investigate action. Like, oh,
Well,
it'd be
no, no, no,
so
no.
great.
You know in your heart of hearts, that's
Oh,
when you're going to draw the tentacle.
oh, of course. Yeah. That's why it's a dream. Because it'll never happen.
That's some hella action compression, though.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I think you're right on there. I think this one, like we've talked about multiple times, anything that kind of adds additional clues, like Rite of Seeking, what have you, its value goes up with the number of players. So in solo, I don't know that anyone really takes this. Maybe Daisy, like because I don't know, but even then, I think there's better things to buy with the experience.
Hmm.
But if you're in multiplayer, I'm thinking multiplayer like 3 players plus.
Hmm.
This is a worthwhile expenditure for someone who's looking to be kind of Clover-ish.
Yeah. This is a maybe in two-player, but like three, four-player, if you're the person playing the seeker or the clue getter, this is for sure. Is this a first buy? I'm not sure, but it's not far down the list on things you want.
Right. Yeah, but it's I mean it's a good card. Deduction
Hmm.
I think sits in an auto include spot in most investigators who can take it.
Hmm.
Um, so a leveled up version is not a bad thing, provided you have enough to actually make or enough clues on locations.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
that's what's holding it back.
complete, of course, with the shitty Charmander tattoo etchings.
Yeah, and he's checking his little notepad. He's like, "I've seen this crappy tattoo before."
I've been to Reddit. All
That
right.
yeah, like Charmander's kind of given him a very hypnotic gaze, if you will. Uh, Hypnotic Gaze is a three-cost mystic event, uh, level 0. It has one combat pip and one agility pip. It's spell traded, and it has fast. Play when an enemy attacks an investigator at your location. Cancel the attack, then reveal a random token from the chaos bag. If it has all the bad symbols, deal the attacking enemy's damage to itself.
Okay, so there's a lot to digest here. I want to break
Mm-hmm.
it down. Uh, so first, I do want to thank Melisandre for taking a moment out of her very busy schedule to break into a cameo in this game.
Did they just steal the art? Because it
I'm
it
trying
looks
to
like
figure out
Melisandre.
who it should be or who it's trying to be. She doesn't she look like she's wearing like Lily Chen's Chinese kind of I don't know what the official name for that kind of.
Kimono? Is that what that is
No, I
called?
think that's Japanese.
Oh,
There's a name for it though, but it feels very
hmm.
like that stylistically. But I don't know that this is Lily, so we'll see. Um.
Hmm.
Okay, so this card cancels an enemy attack first and foremost. Right, everything else is ancillary and conditional. This just cancels an enemy, but it does it for 3. Comparing it, of course, to Dodge, which is kind of the most direct comparison out of Guardian. Obviously, it makes sense that having that really Guardian-y effect outside of Guardian should cost more.
Hmm.
How do you feel about it sitting at 3?
It's expensive.
Mm.
Um, I think you mentioned this before, so I'm stealing your point. Daisy could possibly take it
Yep.
because if she does have Milan out, she's going to be getting a lot of money from investigating.
Yep.
So this could be the price point could be negligible, but 3 is a bit high for me. Like everyone else, I'm like, ooh, maybe. But I think at 2 would be a steal of a deal. So I think 3 is the appropriate cost for it.
And it does have spell synergy going for it, whatever that's going to matter. It doesn't matter a whole lot now, but I imagine for Mystic it'll matter more. Card pool. So there's whatever
Mm-hmm.
that's worth. Um,
And you can find it with the the trainee. What's her name?
oh, the Initiate?
Yeah, that's the one.
The Emo Initiate?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's searchable, kind of.
Yes. Which
But,
helps.
hmm.
But I don't think you ever take this banking on its damage. So unless in a world where we're getting a lot more, I guess, token manipulation, chaos bag manipulation, if we get more effects like Jim's Elder Sign, where he can choose to treat it as a skull, right, this becomes a lot better as far as its kind of conditional effect to deal damage back. And I think this also depends a lot on your chaos bag.
Yeah,
I
especially
think this
in
is
Dunwich.
better in standalone.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, depending on how your Dunwich is going,
That's
this
true.
could get really good.
True.
But that means you're doing really poorly, or you're making correct, incorrect decisions, depending on which. I don't know. There's decisions.
Or you're
Anyways,
playing
no
skids.
spoilers there. Skids and Daisy. Oh boy.
Well, Ian's not here. I have to take the shots.
Hmm. Oh man, I'm so excited for any update from that. Anyways, this card. Yeah, I think you have to just assume you're not getting the damage, and the damage is a bonus. That being said, I don't think I'd pay 3 for it. So
Yeah, I think this is a one of at most in very few investigators at the moment, but I think there's some potential here. Depending on how mechanics in the game go, there's potential. So I'll be watching this one because the art is amazing. So I'll never be sad to see this art wise in my. So as we move on to bigger and better things, so to speak. Wait, is this my card?
Yeah, it's your card.
Okay. God dang it. We did it in opposite order last time and it's completely messed me up now. Okay. So, our next Mystic card is, of course, level 3 Shriveling, which is a 3-cost Mystic asset. It has a Willpower and Combat pip spell traded, uses 4 charges. Action, spend 1 charge, fight. This attack uses power instead of combat. You get +2 Willpower. Deal +1 damage for this attack. If a bad token is revealed during this attack, take 1 horror. Takes up 1. So,
really good in gym.
there it is.
I playing gym with my wife. That's our main Dunwich campaign, like the one we face check with. And I found regular level Shriveling was kind of hard to get going with him. I always wanted to try and get a rosary out first or something, or I just felt like my Shriveling wasn't working well. This was a super awesome upgrade.
Yeah.
Like, just to give him that +2, like it's fantastic, right? You look at Jenny's guns, right? +2 combat. This is essentially Jenny's guns, but a spell.
Yep. And that's really the big difference, right? Because level 0 Shriveling, it gives you kind of a skill boost in that you're presumably replacing combat with your better stat. But that even for anyone but Agnes, your better stat is still not great by itself. So I feel like this is going to be pretty key for a lot of Mystics going forward. Agnes, just by virtue of being Agnes, has access to a lot of static willpower boost, and she starts so high anyway. I just don't feel like she needs it as much, but just about anyone else. Yeah, I mean, going from 4 to 6, Agnes will show you, makes a difference.
Yeah, I think maybe Agnes, like late in a campaign where the boss fight's coming up or something, like this kind of makes you a little more sure of your Shriveling charges. Like, it makes sure that all 4 of those charges hit instead of 3 out of 4, maybe.
Sure.
But
well,
yeah.
And Agnes is going to be playing Delve Too Deep from the first scenario to the second to last anyway, so you'll probably have the XP.
Yeah, and then you can just replace the Delve Too Deeps with these. Oh wait, no, you have to upgrade from Shriveling. Whatever. But
so yeah,
cool.
I have no transition for this next one.
Well, if that's the case, I'm out of here.
Oh, god damn it.
I'm Out of Here is a rogue event, 0 cost, level 0, 2 agility pips. It has the Trick and Spirit trait that says play only if there's a scenario card with a Resign ability in play. Resign, you get the hell out of here. This is by far my favorite grief card released thus far, because you can just up and leave your friends in a really bad situation.
Every time I bother to stop and look at a rogue card for a while, I appreciate the fact that the background templating for their text boxes is a napkin. You can see the pleating off to the left. Which is just so funny. Anyway, so this card I would categorize as conditional. Its conditionality is, of course, helped by the fact that it has 2 solid tips for probably the most important skill, or stat rather, in this class.
I've heard a lot of people choosing to put, when they're building their deck, putting 2 I'm Outta Here's in instead of manual dexterity.
Sure.
You do lose that card draw from the manual dexterity, but you also have the ability to just resign.
GTFO.
Yeah, like if you really need to manual dexterity out of the scenario, you've got it. So
Yeah, so this is one that I haven't played with a whole lot yet. I'm trying to think of decent uses of it. I think the House Always Wins is a good one, because there is that little rules artifact where if you resign on the back alley location that actually has the resign ability, you drop your clues on it, thus negating the victory. But if that's in play and you resign elsewhere, then you don't drop your clues on that location, and you can possibly score those victory points. Cool. And it is nice. I think there are those situations where sometimes I'd like, this was in my little sideboard, because sometimes you just know a scenario's going south. And in those times, generally not much you can do about it.
Yeah. Now, I have a rules question, and I think I know, but I'm wondering if this triggers an attack of opportunity.
Nope.
Because you are playing a card, but you're doing the resign action, so it doesn't.
Yeah,
right?
so it counts as a resign action, so it would not trigger the AO. Which definitely
the capital
helps
A, little O, capital O.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Cost yourself like 2 syllables.
Yeah, that wasn't convenient at all.
So yeah, I don't know. I think this will be... It's interesting for these ones, because something like this is really scenario specific, which the Lord of the Rings player in me is totally okay with, because it's like, throw it in, it's convenient, and it's going to be useful. But taking the kind of long view that Arkham encourages you to take, I don't know that I've ever thrown this in. Maybe I need to try throwing it in instead of manual dexterity next time and see if it's ever of use.
I think this card works well with adaptable. Like,
Sure.
once you have that permanent, and you can bring this in and out with, like, let's say manual dexterity, depending on the scenario.
Yep.
What's the one just after Blood on the Altar, before we're doing
Undimensioned and Unseen?
There's a perfect example, right? You have a resign ability on one location,
and it's revealed straight away.
Right, but you're running around the map.
Yep.
And I know when my wife and I played it, like, it was a fight to get back to that location to resign without dying. So this would be a perfect option for it.
Yep.
So super, super dependent on the scenario. But I totally agree with people who want to play it, putting it in instead of manual dexterity, just to have it when they need it.
Yeah.
And you still get those pips for when you need to pass those skills. So
that's probably a decent cost to sacrifice that card draw just to have the adaptability. CFO if everything's going south. I see that. I can see that.
And the flavor text of quitters may never win, but they also rarely die. That's great. All right.
Well, let's switch
cards.
God damn it. Yeah, we probably should.
Yeah. This is yours.
Okay. Level 2 Switchblade is a rogue asset, costs 1, has a combat and agility pip. It has a lot of traits. It has item, weapon, melee, and illicit traits. So I don't know if concealed weapons were actually illegal back in the 20s. But anyway, there is that. It has fast and fight action. Or action, fight. You get +2 combat for this attack. If you succeed by 2 or more, this attack deals +1 damage. Of course, it takes up a hand slot.
So Switchblade 0
Yep.
was I don't want to call it a hot pile of garbage,
Let's
but I
go
don't
with
think
Terabad.
it wasn't. I don't think it was a good card. I think it was very thematic,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I don't think the numbers and the ability of the card, it didn't really do it for me.
Yep.
Um, Upgrade Switchblade, this is amazing.
Yep.
Like I think this is a really good weapon. The
Mm-hmm.
ability for it to be fast, it gives you the +2 attack, and you have the opportunity to get 2 or more above, but it already gives you the +2, right? So if you can throw a couple pips in there for the test, you're probably going to be doing +2, and you can or doing +1 damage, and you can keep it in your hand until you need it because it does have fast.
That's, I think, a big piece that's easy to overlook the value of.
Mm-hmm.
Because in a lot of scenarios, you kind of want to get set up before venturing forth a little. That often means having a way to deal with enemies, and that often means getting your weapon out before you're really feeling comfortable. But if you've got
Mm-hmm.
Switchblade in your hand, you can just kind of go about your business, and even if an enemy pops out before you throw this down, often probably don't throw this down until an enemy pops out. The fact that you
Mm-hmm.
can fast it down for one resource, not trigger an attack of opportunity, and then get straight into fighting, that's awesome flexibility.
Yeah, and I mean you're not guaranteed the +1 damage, but I think it's gonna if you're prepared for it, I think it's gonna hit with the +1 damage more often than not. And it really does help itself out with that +2 attack. So
So far, I've only used this in Jenny because Jenny is really the only rogue that I acknowledge is playable at this point. I don't know how people play the game with 2 willpower, guys. It's just
it's brutal.
how.
Yeah.
Props for all you people out there who are skids apologists because I can't do it. But anyway, in Jenny specifically, since kind of one of her more popular builds is to play around with the talents that let you just spend her multitude of resources to kind of massage her stat numbers to where you want them. You pop one or two resources on, this test, and you're at a 6-7.
Yeah. 3,
Probably
4, 5. Yeah.
probably gonna hit that damage.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the enemy, you can just kind of massage that number right where you need it to be well positioned to get the. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm very positive on.
I've been thinking of trying this in a Wendy build as a one of, just kind of being that, we've always talked about, even in multiplayer, every deck has to be able to deal with like rats or acolytes, right? Like
Yep.
you got to be able to do a damage. This is a great weapon for Wendy if she's running around with a flashlight, um, and something else like whatever
Mm-hmm.
items that are handed in a newspaper. We'll get to that one.
Yep.
This is great to be like, oh darn, I have to kill rats while I have my switchblade. Right? You're
Yep.
not looking for the +1 damage. You're looking for the +2 fight.
Yep.
So
Way better than knife, which I think was her last go to. If
yeah, I
anyone
mean,
ever decided that was their go to.
fire axe is also good.
Sure. Team Fire
But
Axe.
yeah, team fire axe.
I want to see
But
level 2 Fire Axe. What the hell? That's gonna be amazing.
yeah.
No? Okay.
I don't know. I kind of like how it is. The survivor weapons are just crap. All the survivor weapons are not actually weapons, right?
Yes.
Like
They're
fire
improvised
extinguishers, things
tools.
like that. Yeah. So
But yeah, I think
cool.
I think the main reason you take a weapon is for the damage bonus, and if it gives you a greater chance of succeeding the fight test in the first place, then gravy. So
Mm-hmm.
this one kind of hits both.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Cool.
Well, you want to
Do you
throw on this next card and see how it fits?
Uh, that was a really bad segue. Just saying.
No argument.
Okay. So Bandolier is a guardian asset. It's a 2-cost asset, and it has a combat pip. It has the item trait, and it says you have 1 additional hand slot, which can only be used to hold a weapon asset. It has 1 health and null sanity, and it takes up the body slot.
Did you know, Scott,
Hmm.
that throughout the entire filming of Star Wars, Chewbacca only wore a bandolier?
That that is creepy yet understandable. He grew his own clothing.
Yep. They tried to give him lederhosen, but he just wouldn't keep them on.
The hair would just come out all the different places. And anyway, so Bandolier um, seems pretty good. I think, especially if you're going to be, I'd say like Zoe or Roland, where you're going to be the fighty person um, in a multiplayer game, and you want to have a bunch of weapons, but also be able to hold a flashlight or some other single hand something. Um, yeah, getting 3 hands seems really good, and the body slot in Guardian really isn't like competed for with much else.
I think the body slot in any class is not really in high competition.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Survivor pretty much leather coat. But you're right. Like until you're buying a bulletproof vest, which is mediocre, I would say. Um, yeah. So
So
you're turning your body slot into an additional hand slot,
that's really what it is. You're paying
which is
to,
awesome.
and yeah, you have a little panic button in this one health if you're about to die, or you'd rather lose this than lose an important ally. Then you got that option. Um, I do question though how often anyone's gonna need that outside of maybe solo, because like what you said, I think was the best argument. Like keep an open hand for a flashlight, right?
Mhm.
But most of the time that's not a problem because you either have your 45 or your Machete, something going on.
Mhm.
You got the open slot for a flashlight. Um,
Well, I think some of the bigger weapons we're seeing come out, like those two-handed weapons.
sure.
So you could have a giant two-handed weapon for the big boss, and you have your 45 on the side for your little boss, or your machete or something, right? So you can have two weapons holding up 3 slots. I think is the big option there as well.
Yeah, and I do agree that I think this value goes up the more two-handed weapons we have. Yeah, I think this is more than anything. I think this is a solo card because I think in multiplayer, if you're rocking the two-handed weapons, you're just kind of taking on the role of monster killer.
Mm.
So you don't need the additional hand slot. But I do like this in solo where maybe you want to keep the hand open for flashlight or magnifying glass or newspaper if you're saucy.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's mostly a solo card, or
Yeah.
maybe two-player, but low player count
Yeah.
card. You know what?
Uh,
You know what card is not a solo card? Sorry, did you have something else about Bandolier?
nothing
Or
of nothing of value.
okay,
Yes, I would agree. And in agreeing, I think we find that we stand together, which is of course a level 3 Guardian card. It's
mm.
a zero cost event, has 2 willpower pips, spirit trait, which is fun because there's a ghost nanny in the art. Not quite sure who that is.
Yeah, but yeah, Ghost Nanny. I'm going with Ghost Nanny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Choose another investigator at your location. Both you and that investigator draws 2 cards and gains 2 resources.
This is so good.
Yeah. So
Uh,
go on.
I don't have anything to go on. That's the thing. It's that good. It's once you have the XP for it. I mean, 2 card like it's one action and a card for 4 cards and 4 resources divided among 2 players. It's insane.
Multiplied by 2 players.
Well, I'm saying like you as a group draw 4 cards
Sure.
and get 4 resources. Like this is hidden. This is emergency quiche, but you're sharing quiche with others. You're breaking quiche together. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this one's a lot of fun in 4 player.
Mm-hmm.
You played in solo, do you think? Is it worth the XP? Because, a zero cost event that draws you 2 cards and gains 2 resources, even without the multiplayer effect, is pretty okay. But is it worth
Well,
3 experience, do you think?
it is not, and I'll tell you why. Because someone asked Matt. Because you cannot complete both you and like choose another investigator at your location. Because you cannot choose another investigator, you can't continue on with the card. So in solo, you can't play this unless
Hmm.
like you can't target another investigator. Therefore, the card just fizzles. So it can't be just a solo 2 cards, 2 resources.
I may or may not have known that and was just setting you up for a cool rules clarification.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
That's a lie. So yeah, I think the one place I maybe wouldn't put this in is if you've got maybe a pair of investigators who are kind of both all rounders,
Hmm.
and you're kind of taking the divide and conquer approach, which I find is the less common approach for myself personally. But I've done it a couple
Yeah,
times, and I feel like then yeah, maybe you're not going to be at the same location that often, and therefore this loses its value. But I've got my Zoe and Rex campaign on the board right now, and this card has been amazing.
yeah. I feel like if you drew both of these in your starting hand, and you're all at that location, you're just like, all right, who wants crap? You just make it rain.
Yep.
I agree though. 2-player, it's iffy because sometimes you just won't be together. Um, which I mean, you're supposed to never split the party because that's bad. But obviously, you have to once in a while. Um, so your chance of using it is higher in a 4-player. I still think it's worth it though in 2-player because you're gonna end up together eventually. Like just most scenarios, you kind of stay around the same area.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Or within a
and the
location or
value,
two, right?
yeah, and the value of this is just insane. So yeah,
Ghost Nanny
so,
for the win.
yeah. Now we have to play a Roland and Zoe campaign, and both take stand together.
That
2 of them.
does seem pretty baller.
Hmm.
Cards and resources all around, which, both things Guardian specifically has troubles with. So,
Yeah.
well, extra, read all about. No, I can't even. I can't
Wow.
even.
So this is newspaper. Worst segue ever. It is a survivor asset, 1 cost. It has an intellect pip, item trait, and it's you get +2 intellect while investigating if you have no clues, and it takes up a hand slot.
No.
This is this is really good, and where Doom awaits. Just for anyone who's going into that scenario,
I would,
you
yeah,
might want to read the news.
I would look at it. I would look
Mhm.
at it. Um,
Beyond that,
yes. This one,
I
go ahead.
you go ahead. Oh, no, I want to hear your opinion.
This one I've gone back and forth on at least 3 times.
Hmm.
Um, so my first thought on this one is again variable on player count.
Hmm.
I feel like it's better in solo because you're gonna
Hmm.
have more time with no clues if you're dealing with some other objective in solo, I think, than in multiplayer because there are just fewer clues on the board to get. Whereas
Hmm.
if you're concerned with getting clues at all, chances are you're pretty good at it and you're just going to have a lot for a longer period of
Hmm.
time. I do think this is interesting in that. I mean, it's an okay. So my other big thought, and then I'll turn it over to you, is that this is good in a scavenging because probably once per act, maybe twice per act, whatever it happens to be, get +2 to try to hit that 2 over mark on hitting scavenging and pulling something back from your deck. And
Hmm.
beyond that, it is itself an item with an intellect pip. So if you find your second one, then you can try to recycle it to trigger it more often.
Yeah, I like the idea of a scavenging deck using this. Like you said, it gives you that one shot every once in a while to really, you know, excel at a scavenging check. I think it's really great in Ashcan Pete and Duke because when Duke investigates, you still get that +2, so you'll be at a 6. Um, I think this is really good in solo, like you said, because you're going to spend more time with those low amount of clues. It is kind of a variable return on your investment because there are some scenarios where uh, you have to gather a lot of clues and then move forward. But in solo, I mean, often I'm trying to think of a lot of scenarios, and most of them are it's like 2 clues per investigator to move forward. Well, if you're playing solo, that means pretty much half the time you're going to be getting +2, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
Would you consider this in Agnes?
Well, now, yeah.
But I mean, the reason I'm thinking this because I was thinking this before, and I was wondering why you didn't have it in your deck because I was thinking, you have Rite of Seeking and you have uh, Drawn to the Flame and stuff.
And look what
But
I
what
found.
about yeah? Look what I found. But what about that? The first time, like Agnes's hands aren't really getting taken up with much,
That's
right?
true.
Like she maybe has a fire axe, maybe some ritual candles. Like there's grotesque statue once you get up there. Um, but you can use the newspaper to bump her to a 5 or 4.
Or
So that's not bad if you don't want to use your Rite of Seeking or some other trick you have on an easy, like on a 2 shroud location. I don't know. It seems like an option,
it is
but
an option. Um,
mm,
I think ultimately, though, outside of knowing what I now know about where Doom awaits, I found look what I found to just be a better option because I mean, I think you're just more likely going to fail when you're
mhm.
when you're normal investigating with Agnes, and for one more resource, you get one more clue, and it's not conditional about how many you already have. And
Mhm.
that's the real thing that holds this one back is like it's only on when you have no clue.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not in the right spot. Maybe that first one you have to hit is a 2 shroud, and then the next one you have to hit is a 4 shroud, and then kind of like, all right, well, that happened in the wrong order.
Yeah.
I think
I,
that's
I
what
think
turns this one off for me a little bit in that regard.
that's fair. I think this is totally a solo card though.
Mm-hmm.
Solo or maybe 2 player. Um, yeah.
Yep. But again, item is good. Is good. Scavenging, I think this is something you definitely look at when you take scavenging, especially in
Mhm.
solo. Um, I think it was no, not my normal username is the only one talking to us anymore. Thank you, not my normal username, for sticking with us through the technical errors. Mentioned that it's not a bad +2 for something like I'm trying to think who could take this for burglary. So Wendy could take it without splashing, and then I suppose any of the Dunwich investigators could take it. But if you've got no
Mhm.
clues and you decide you want to burgle, it's a nice little boost.
Yeah.
But I've played this game enough. The thought that you will get both of them out and have nothing better to do in the moment
Yeah.
with no clues.
Combo.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could happen. I'm sure it has happened for someone. But
Yeah.
normally in those moments, I have a Whippoorwill and a Night Gaunt chasing me down, and I'm just happy that I haven't died yet.
Or you're drowning in the Whippoorwill pool.
Yes, falling in the Whippoorwill pool. All right,
All right.
well,
Can I
one.
uh can I bait you into this next card? Into reading it?
I feel like one way to get yourself out of the whirlpool is to lure them elsewhere, perhaps.
Perhaps.
The lure, of course, is level 1, cost 1 survivor event. It has 2 agility pips. Has the trick trait, because the illusion trait would be incorrect. Attached to your location. During the enemy phase, each enemy that moves does so along the shortest path toward the attached location, instead of where it would normally move. Forced, while attached, at the end of the round, discard lure. So this basically, for 1 round, lets you subvert the hunter keyword, or I guess any other encounter effect that's making an enemy move.
Mm-hmm.
So when this one's in the Miskatonic quad, and the second, third, whatever it happens to be, agenda is gonna advance and move the experiment one toward the dormitories. You could pop this on like Orn Library and buy
You
yourself
better,
like 2 extra turns.
yeah.
That's the best use I've been able to think of for this one.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Midnight Masks might have a use for this. Maybe, depending on what you got out.
Sure.
This is kind of like the Survivor's Barricade. And Barricade was about as good as Switchblade level 0. I think
But it had 3 icons.
it sure did. um, I kind of like this one. It's so neat. I
Yeah,
love the
that's the
theme of
thing. Is
it.
like it's super neat. It's super fun. It's super cute.
Yeah, but I don't see myself slotting this into my deck.
I think, and I've still yet to have real success, at least to the point where I can confirm that this thing exists. But I suspicion that there is yet to be built out there a Wendy Dodge tank build,
It's
and
getting close.
we're okay. We're like one Aquina away.
Yeah.
Um, but in that build, pulling all the enemies to your location, because I mean, if you think about it, like most scenarios, any given location is probably not often more than 2 moves away from any other location. 2 to 3, right?
hmm
You want
hmm
to cross the board, it generally takes a turn. So, moving them one location toward you it's significant. It's just how useful is that gonna be?
I think it has to do. Oftentimes, I think it's going to be like if you're able to mess around with the direction they're heading, less so than the distance they're heading. Because sometimes if you get them in a certain direction on a certain path of location, sometimes you can screw them into having to take the long way around
Sure.
to get somebody else, right? But that's
Especially in
really
like Blood on the Altar with the
mhm,
complicated one ways. So if you trick them into one location and they can't go back the same way they came, then
yeah. It's I think the problem is it's so it would require so much setup. You're better off like doing anything else.
I don't know though. I kind of like this one in conjunction with maybe an elusive. So again,
Yeah.
probably a Wendy card. So you're in a location, you pop this down, and then you elusive away, or you elusive to the farthest location you can get to, pop this down, and then move away a little bit. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I get
must
definitely.
try this out at some point. It just seems way too fun. I just don't know that I have the skill to play it correctly.
I think I need to build that Wendy dodge tank. Like, hey guys, I'll kite all the enemies
Yep.
for a 4-player game,
Yep.
and I'll let you know how it goes.
Yep. I've done it.
Because I've been.
I have a Wendy and Roland Dunwich campaign
Hmm,
in which I tried to build the Wendy Dodge tank build, but 2 players is not the spot for it. It's not been
no,
good.
I think it needs to be 4.
So yeah, maybe this has a
Yeah,
place in there for its tricks.
yeah, maybe. Overall, though, I think it takes a very specific build. It's a very cute card, but I don't think it's something that's like, oh, I'll put this in my all-around deck.
I think more than anything is I'm trying to project into the future here.
hmm
So we'll see how this comes true in a year or two. But I think this one's going to hinge a lot on mobility. So if you get a survivor that's super mobile, maybe has some kind of survivor, not equivalent, but some survivor comparison to something like Pathfinder, where you could get behind the enemies, drop this down, and then zip back in the same turn.
hmm
That's pretty okay. But again, only in multiplayer because you're just buying everyone else less friction for what they're trying to do themselves.
What
This in
about
itself doesn't do a whole lot.
what about? Can you imagine a survivor investigator whose special power is enemies do not automatically engage you?
Oh boy.
Because that would be an awesome. Like, there's so many cards that would work so well. Oh,
Well, when you try my Naked Snake investigator from my Metal Gear Solid custom set, then you'll see what that feels like.
hmm.
That was a snake eater.
That sounds great.
So our neutral
Let's
cards, I feel like
yeah.
there's a winner and there's a loser. We'll let you guys figure out which is which.
Mhm.
But Scott, do you want to read
The
Relic
loser.
Hunter? Oh yeah, maybe that was a bit objective kind of.
So Relic Hunter is a null cost level 3 asset. Um, it's a talent and it has permanence. So it comes out at the start of the game and you can't get rid of it. You have one additional accessory slot. So if you like the gold necklaces,
So I'm sure at some point in the card pool, someone will be glad.
but today is not that day, Sean.
But it is not today. Yeah, I just don't think the accessory slot is that contentious at the moment.
I mean, maybe Wendy with rabbit's foot and her necklace. Like I'm scraping for
Mm-hmm.
ideas here, um, and I think that just goes to show how much that isn't true right now.
That's the thing, is I feel like every investigator where you can construct an argument for two accessories they might need, there's definitely one where it's like, they'll live without it. I don't need both.
Yeah, I'm even thinking like it jumped in my head. I'm like, oh, what if you had like double disc in Daisy or Rex? But I'm like, oh wait, no, disc is unique, so
Eh,
that one doesn't even work.
Double
Um,
rosary, I guess, maybe in gym. But then
yeah,
you have to find both. That's not something I want to plan around.
double police badge for Megaturn.
Ooh.
I mean, double rabbit's foot wouldn't be crazy.
No, but you got to
Uh,
find both of them.
yeah, I mean, uh,
I feel like if you've got two of accessories that you both want in play,
mhm.
then yeah, this becomes. But even if you were like, yeah, I'd love to have two feet, rabbit's foots out. Um, the chances that you're gonna find them both within the space of a game and make use of this 3 experience that you just spent,
Yeah,
maybe 50%.
yeah. Maybe the argument could be made for Zoe, um, because she does have her cross, and that is one of the, we talked about signature assets or events or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Some are good, some aren't great.
Yep.
Zoe's cross. I mean,
So
if
good.
you played for the pips, I feel like
So
you're
good.
doing it wrong. um, maybe that, and if you're upgrading into police badge, give her that extra willpower.
Sure.
Then you could maybe throw in some shrivelings
Sure.
to augment her combat stuff, and you have the police badge buff. Maybe, um, but I'm grasping at straws for this card right now. And like you said, maybe in the future, but right now,
Again, just another card that's kind of solving a problem we don't have at the moment. I'm
mhm,
sure that
mhm.
problem will exist at some point in the future. Unlike the issue of too many allies.
Oh
Oh, Charlie Kane for president.
yeah, that's a
AKA
pretty
Charisma is, of course, a neutral level 3 permanent asset talent. You have one additional. Dear God, I think the number of campaigns where I don't take this within the space of scenario 1 or 2 can be counted on a single hand.
yeah. I have like taking 2 charisma is not a bad idea in a lot of decks.
Mm-mm.
Um, Especially with like guardians tend to have a lot of allies. Seekers, like good heavens, if you're playing Roland, you have allies coming out the wazoo.
Yep.
Like your first 2 upgrades should just be charisma into charisma.
And then
Super
Pathfinder.
Friends deck. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it goes without saying that allies just remain, especially the unique allies, remain some of the more powerful player cards we have access to. And on
Hmm.
top of the talking about the player card pool, the asset, or sorry, the allies we get through just playing the scenarios, at least in Dunwich Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we get Lita, Knight of the Zealot, who's good. But what, there are 5 so far that you can potentially get in the Dunwich Legacy. And if you're playing 4-player, you can divide those up pretty easily, and maybe it doesn't become such an issue. But if you're playing solo, oh boy, you got to make some room.
Yeah. I think a key part to charisma being amazing as well, depending on the deck, is you often want to have. So let's take Wendy, or Agnes is even a good example of this.
Mm-hmm.
There's usually someone like Pete Sylvester, right? A great permanent ally you want to have for the whole game because he heals horror, he
Peter.
gives you a boost, whatever. But then you're also, I'd love to have a stray cat or two. So it's almost like you have charisma allows you to have the permanent ally
The correct
slot.
answer there is Arcane Initiator 2.
Sorry. Well, in Wendy, I'm thinking stray cat, but you have a permanent ally slot, and then you have the rotational ally slot, where these are the ones, like especially in Seeker, your lab assistants, your research librarians, or research assistants, all the ones that have come into play effects, and then just take horror and die. I love the ability to have just a slew of friends come along. So,
Well, yeah, and someone like Ashcan, who starts with Duke, probably the best ally in the game. Gonna throw that out there. It doesn't even take up an ally slot, so like Ashcan can have just an entourage following him. Because you get Peter out, maybe you take Milan as a splash slot.
mm-hmm.
I mean, just allies are so powerful, and the fact that you can pay 3 to get an extra one out, I think that almost every time.
Yeah, I really think ally, like we talk about competing for slots. So we mentioned the body slot, not a lot of competition there. Same thing with the accessory slot. Hand slots can get a little dicey in some investigators. Same thing with arcane slots in the other investigators. But it feels like every single investigator, there's always good competition for the ally slot.
Yep. Fierce
So,
competition.
yeah.
Agree. I think there's been part of me that wants to just buy an extra copy of Essex just to have some extra charismas.
Yeah.
But then I remember that most of the
packs.
time I play 2 players, so we're okay. We get by.
Yeah. I played a solo game, or sorry, not a solo, a standalone game, 4-player of Carnival, and I played Rex, and you get 9 XP. 6 of that went to Charisma, 2 went to Pathfinder, and I can't remember what my last XP was. I think it was Flare.
Probably magnifying glass.
No, it wasn't Flare. Oh yeah, Magnifying Glass, that's what it was. Yeah, because I couldn't take Flare. But yeah, it was just, I basically had Rex and friends. It was fantastic.
Yep.
So.
And I don't know if Dunwich is reflecting kind of what we're going to see for the rest of the scenarios, but it makes sense that the NPCs, I suppose, that you come across in future scenarios could eventually become allies. Happened in Lord of the Rings quite commonly. I imagine it's going to continue to happen here, so I feel like charisma is just going to be a staple forever and always.
Yeah.
Forever.
So, who won the pack?
Oh, we're supposed to play that game on the normal podcast, but I suppose we didn't do that for this pack specifically. Who won this
Neutral
pack?
faction?
Yeah.
For charisma alone?
I'm gonna go. Damn, who did win this pack?
I have my idea.
Go for it.
So.
Who do you got?
I think Seeker.
No. That's not how we play the game, Scott. You have to have a specific investigator who won.
Oh, sorry. Okay, you go first then, because I'm trying to think.
This one's tough. If
Daisy?
Gun to head, I want to say either Daisy or Wendy. But Wendy, I'm going to asterisk if that 4-player dodge tank build exists.
Yeah. Well, because Wendy got Switchblade and I'm Outta Here as well.
Yep,
right? Like,
exactly. I feel like the core set investigators are just gonna have a better chance at winning this game always.
yeah, maybe. I mean, 4-player Rex also got a huge jump in
Sure,
deduction.
sure.
Um, yeah. Do you have a favorite card from this pack besides Charisma? Let's just assume both of us love Charisma.
Let's.
Second favorite card?
When I'm not playing Mystic, I tend to play Seeker nowadays. So I'm gonna go with level 2 deduction. So yeah, I mean just boosting that clue acquisition, quick clue acquisition in multiplayer is awesome because the faster you get those clues, the less time the encounter deck has to advance its doom. So
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Level 2 deduction. That is a. Well, I mean, unless I'm playing a grief deck, then I'm out of
right,
here.
yes,
But
always.
yes, level 2 deduction.
Award for card I'd love to like is Lure,
Yeah,
and I do like it, but I don't know how actually useful it's ever gonna
best art goes to Hypnotic Gaze.
be. Agree.
Yeah. All right.
The night is dark and full of terrors. It is noon.
Cool.
Okay, so
Choo
awesome.
choo.
Yes, awesome pack. Any closing thoughts on the Essex County Express and its attendant player cards, Scott?
Um, I think this was a pack that was long awaited from when it was spoiled with Charisma. Um, I think there are some interesting cards. And I think I agree with you that there's maybe a couple asterisks on a couple cards here to see what happens with our card pool.
Yeah, we've dog-eared a few.
Yeah. Yeah. Lure, I'm really interested to see someone break Relic Hunter. That's what I'm waiting for. Broken Relic Hunter.
Well,
3 necklaces.
Probably going to be waiting for a while, but, what do I know?
I dibs the deck name Mr. T.
I go to no plate sucker. Awesome. So, thanks everyone for joining us. Of course, this was your player card review for the Essex County Express. We will see you next time on the Miskatonic AV Club.